we do some business in this house, and as we're moving to this house, these dudes all wake up now. And so we're in a ditch. It's probably like thigh high in this ditch. And this compound is off to my 1 o'clock, probably like 40 meters away. And we see a dude walking around with an AK, and you see a bunch of lasers go on him. Everybody shoots him. The guy goes down, and then all hell breaks loose. Probably 5, 6, 7 dudes, RPGs, AK-47s, and medium machine guns. So probably a PKM open up on us. And we're just hammered, dude. So we're all in a straight line. And so it goes my buddy Joe, another Joe, my buddy RJ, me, and then the rest of our team. The fire was so close and so accurate that as we were shooting, I'm right-handed, RJ is left-handed. A round hit his Surefire, hit his flashlight on his M4 and exploded and went to his throat. So as I'm shooting, I just see this bright flash. And I see him slump down. So I get down behind some cover and I'm like yelling at him, like, hey, are you good? He doesn't say shit and just pops back up and just keeps shooting. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we keep shooting and we end up doing it.
Hey, Pete, welcome to Let's See What Happens podcast. Give me a hug, brother.
Yes.
Hey. Oh, good
to have me, dude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good to have you, man. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. Oh. That works. However, perfect. Ding, ding.
Right.
Okay, so when I first thought up this podcast and I was writing down names for future guests, possible guests, you're one of the first names I wrote down, dog. And it's good to have you here. I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for your support. I'm grateful for your willingness to come here and share, to teach, and just everything that you bring to the table, dog. Fucking welcome.
I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, welcome,
yes,
brother.
yes.
Welcome, brother, man.
Yes.
Hey, so no reason why, beat around the bush and not get it, because we've already fucking beat it around the bush.
For sure.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
Why the Marines, and how long were you in the Marines?
Yep. So I grew up an Air Force brat, lived all over the country, all over the world. I almost joined the Air Force.
Okay.
So I got as far as like the entrance, like it's called MEPS, where you go and you swear in, they do all your physicals. I made it that far for the Air Force. And then somewhere along the way, I was like, I don't want to do this Air Force thing. Mm. My dad's a colonel. Someone's going to be like, hey, you're only here because you're dad. You didn't do this shit on your own, whatever. So I left MEPS. Get home, Air Force recruiter calls my house phone. Hey man, I thought you were in. Nope, I'm good. Don't call me ever again. Hang up the phone. My hand's still on the phone. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Sergeant Jones, United States Marine Corps. You ever think about joining the military? And I'm like, yes. He's like, what's your address? He's like, I'll be there in 2 hours.
What?
2 hours later, dude showed up in full dress blues. And so at the time, my dad was in a bunker in Saudi Arabia. This is 2002. So he's in a bunker in Saudi Arabia. I think he was in the J3. So it's the whole air strategic campaign for Afghanistan and then the prep to go into Iraq. Mm-hmm. So we had to fax him a waiver to allow me to enlist because I was still 17. Mm-hmm. So anyway, joined the Marine Corps, and then I spent 12 years as a Marine.
Hey, did you ever think of the Marines? Did you ever consider the Marines?
No, I didn't. I didn't know any Marines. I didn't know, no. I'd see the commercials, and I'm like, oh, whatever, that dude's slaying a dragon. That's weird. I never.
So it's like they found you.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. It was like meant to be, dog.
Yeah, fate, for sure.
Yeah, man. So how long were you a Marine, dog?
So 12 years.
Well, I'm not going to say how long were you a Marine, but how long were you an active Marine?
Yeah, for 12 years. So I went in 2003, and then I left in the summer of 2015. So I got to experience the entire ramp up and the height of the global war on terror, or the GWAT. So I'm a GWAT baby.
12 years.
Yep.
Right. And within that 12 years, you also took the route of Marines Special Forces, right? And how did you decide to take that route, or did that route find you as well? Did somebody recruit you both?
Yeah.
What happened? Tell me that story, man.
So when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I enlisted to be a satellite communications specialist. I thought I'd do 4 years and that'd be a cool job. Like, oh, I can go work for Sprint or go work for a phone company, make some money, whatever. Well, I go through boot camp and I get to the field radio operator course. And what I found out was you have to go through like 2 or 3 courses and be in the top couple percentile to get to that. I'm not doing that, dude. I was never good at school. And so while I was there, one of the instructors came from what's called a reconnaissance battalion or a recon battalion. He was a radio operator at 3rd Recon Battalion. His name is Trey Hardinger. And so I come back from Christmas leave, snowboard in hand, and he comes up and we just start chatting. Hey man, you snowboard, you skate? Oh, I do too. Cool. And we started to hang out. And he's like, hey, before Christmas, did you take the recon screener? Did you take the indoc? And I'm like, I don't even know what recon is. And he tells me, and I'm like, fuck, I missed it. Like, that would have been cool. So anyway, I missed it then.
What was his description? Like, what was it that made you say, man, that sounds cool?
Hey, what did you do before you came here? Oh, I was in a recon unit. What's recon? Oh, you jump out of airplanes, you blow stuff up, and you get to fight. And you get to go and do all the sneaky stuff for the Marine Corps. And I'm like, I didn't think that was a thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That sounded cool. And so, as luck should have it, they had 4 slots for people to go to the recon units. So, graduate, I had a good enough GPA, good enough physical scores, where I got orders to 3rd Recon Battalion in Okinawa, Japan. So I flew out to Okinawa, and then I waited 4 months until I went to the basic reconnaissance course. So that's like our buds, essentially, for the recon program.
How old were you?
19.
19 years old. 19 years old, Okinawa.
Yep.
You were in Okinawa for 4 months, waiting to start training for recon.
Yep.
What were you doing in those 4 months?
Getting strong. Getting strong, dude.
Physically, mentally, just getting prepped for that, right?
Yeah. You would learn. So the idea would be, in a parallel approach, we're going to get you smarter and stronger at the same time. So an example would be, you're going to put your buddy in a fireman's carry and you're going to do a squat for every word of the reconnaissance creed. And that's how you're going to learn it. Or you would be in the front lean and rest, so the top position of a push-up. Hey, what's the max ordnance for this weapon? Or what's a GBU, whatever. And if you got it wrong, then you would just do push-ups forever, dude. There'd be days where I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't pick my arms up to like wash my hair and my face in the shower because I was so smoked. And then throughout that process, guys would quit. And so it was good. It was a micro selection to go to that course.
Okay.
And so out of the 4 guys, the 4 of us that went there, 2 never left. They call it the radio shop or the comm shop. 2 never left the comm shop. Another guy, Xavier Castillo, he's from Anaheim. He came with me, but didn't go to the basic reconnaissance course because he quit that phase, that pre-phase before the course. So I went to the basic reconnaissance course in July of 2004. I think we started with like 75 guys and we finished with like mid-30s.
Because it just filters people out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So you're just doing it. It's kind of like buds. I mean, you do a lot of small unit tactics, a lot of time in the ocean, and a lot of time with a lot of weight on your back.
What do you mean a lot of time in the ocean? What do you mean a lot of time in the ocean?
So you'll do the amphib phase. So I think it's 2 weeks long, if my memory's right. And so you learn how to do nautical navigation. So you're driving a little Zodiac, a little black rubber boat, and you're driving that. And then
Okay.
Yep. Or it's the military, so it's like barely trucking. So you do nautical navigation. So you learn how to read nautical charts and how to navigate on the water, which is cool. And then
that's bad, dude.
You would do a 2-kilometer surface fin. So you would have your full camis on, you'd have all your gear, and then you'd have your rucksack, which hopefully was waterproofed appropriately. So you would start from the beach on Coronado. So no kidding, like we'd see the guys at Buds. We'd never talk to them. You'd see them at the chow hall or on the beach, and it would just be like a mutual, like, fuck, this sucks.
Right. You don't have to say it, right?
You do? Yeah. So, yeah, you would have to break the surf, you and your swim buddy. So you'd start on the beach, you'd have your ruck, it's on a little tether, and you'd have to break the surf. So it's Coronado. I think the highest we had in the summer class is like 4 to 6 feet. Not bad. There's winter classes that are like 10 feet.
So you were kind of lucky enough to be able to go through that during summer.
Yeah. Yep. So that was good. So yeah, you'd swim out. So you'd go from the beach, you'd probably go 500 meters out, and then you would have buoy to buoy, might be 2 kilometers. And it's a timed event. And if you fail, I think it was 2 of them, then you get dropped or you get recycled. So you would do that, and then you'd come back, and then you'd run back to the start point, and then you'd go do whatever it was for the day. You'd do the Navy SEAL obstacle course, whatever, a bunch of times. You'd do boat PT. So you've got the full Zodiac with a motor, and then you're just doing push-ups with that or press-ups, like shoulder overhead press, just doing lots of stuff like that.
So was there any time during that training where you were like, fuck, I'm gonna die?
No,
I'm gonna fucking drown. I'm gonna fucking drown. You ever think that, dude?
No.
Dude, I saw, like, I don't know if they were, did you like pool, like training in a pool, in a swimming pool?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you like swim with your hands behind your back?
Oh yeah.
Have to go down underwater, pick something up with your teeth, right?
Yep.
Dude, when we were talking about this, one of the many times we were talking about this, and I looked up training, like it just came up on me. I think, my phone heard us talking about
sure.
it, and
Yep.
it shot me a video of Raider training, recon training, and I looked at it, and there was guys in a pool, and they had their feet tied, their hands pretty much cuffed behind their back.
Yep.
Swim down, I think like how to swim back, go backflip, go up, go down, picks it up with their teeth, and then go up, and you did that.
Yeah, that's the SOCOM in test for dive school. So I didn't do that until later on when I went to the Marine Corps Combatant Dive course. So that's the in test just to get in. So you do your physical fitness test.
Whoa.
So 3-mile run, pull-ups, sit-ups, and then you go to the pool. You have to swim 500 meters in under 11 minutes. You have to travel like that. So you're right. Your ankles are no shit tied, and then your hands, they're lashed. But if you need to, you could get out. So you could self-recover. You could save yourself. So you bob for 5 minutes. And I think the pool's 12 or 15 feet. So you're bobbing the whole time. You just get into your calm headspace, dude. You just find your happy spot and you're like, cool, this will be over soon. Whatever. So you bob for 5 minutes, and then you go straight to, after 5 minutes, they'll yell time. And you have 5 bobs to do a front flip, 5 bobs to do a back flip, and you're bound. And then you have your partner will throw the mask in the pool, and then you have to let it sink. And then you have 5 attempts to go down and grab it with your teeth, and then you have to do 5 bobs with the mask in your teeth. And so, yeah, same. You just go to your happy place, and then once that's done, then you have to do, it's 100-meter travel. So you just undulate, dolphin kick, that whole 100 meters, and then you're done with that, and then that's just to get in.
That's just to get
in, dude.
That's just to see if what you're about to go through, if you're gonna survive that shit, because they don't want anybody who's gonna go out there and be a liability for the department and for themselves, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
so you have to do a whole. That's just the water competency, and then to your point, that's just to get in. Cool, we didn't waste money in a spot on this guy, and then that course is, I think that course is 8 weeks long. So you go from potentially never having done any kind of scuba diving to going from open circuit. So like you would do like down in Mexico, like twin 80s, you could see bubbles. Then you transition to the Mark 25, the dragger. It's a rebreather. So you've got big mouthpiece and then 2 hoses that come into the actual apparatus. So there's no bubbles. So you can be completely clandestine, whatever you're doing. So
low key, low pro. Nobody knows you're there.
Nobody knows you're there,
because there's no bubbles.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a trip, dude. And then during that whole course too, you get the crap kicked out of you, like physically and mentally, all of it, dude.
Like how physically?
So your average day, you might wake up at like 4. Then as a class, you'll go PT. You might run like physical training. You might go run 5, 7, 8, 9 miles. And then you'll do a bunch of body calisthenics, and then you'll go get in the water. And then the first week, you do a 500-meter surface fin. Then you'll do the next week 5 1,000s. The week after 5 1,500s. The week after, I think you do 10 2,000-meter fins, and then you do a 10-kilometer like surface fin, which that's miserable. And then that's just before you go to class. So you'll do all of those events. You'll run bodyweight calisthenics, surface fin, then you'll go to class, and then you'll end up in the pool. And then the pool physical beating, you're doing open circuit twin 80s, so you can see bubbles, and they call it your pool hits. It's confidence. So you have a light, medium, and heavy. You do individual and you do buddy pair. So light, and dude, they're telling you on the safety brief, they're like, do not cheat breathe. So you're not like, they're like, we will not take your regulator out on an exhale. And dude, I'm down there like believing that shit. And so you're walking on the bottom of the pool, like 12 to 15 feet, just walking on your hands.
How are you being weighted down?
You have a weight belt on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. So you have a weight belt on, and then you have both scuba tanks, your regulator, and a mask, and you're just walking along on the bottom of the pool. And then I probably went like halfway through. And so you're sitting on the ramp of the pool before it goes down into the deep end. And then the instructor will just point to you and just go like this. And you're watching dudes just getting smoked. So a dude will come down. There's a guy down there. There's a couple guys that are safety divers. So if you freak out, they're just going to jam a regulator into your mouth. They're going to push oxygen. You're going to go from there, but you're probably going to get dropped. If you go, so
Like what, pass out?
no, like if you panic and try and bolt, so they'll tell you in the safety brief, they're like, hey, if at any time it looks like you're going to go to your feet, we're going to tackle you. We're going to cram air down your throat and we're going to drop you.
Oh,
so, and then I think it's like 15 or 20 steps. Like once all of your gear is removed, very specific way to put it back on. So you're down there, you're breathing, and you're watching dudes just getting smoked before you go. So psychologically, you're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? And then they point to you and you're like, oh. So you're literally down there, and then they'll write with like a grease pencil, like you're gonna die, you're gonna drown, you know, fuck you, like all these things on the bottom of the pool deck, just to get in your head more. Because the whole thing is to simulate you're going into a beach, you're going in somewhere. If you get rolled in the surf, how are you going to stay calm? How are you going to react? Everything we're doing is at nighttime. So you got to figure that out.
Which adds to the fucking stress.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Can't see shit.
So I remember I'm walking down on my hands. My feet are just dragging behind. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, nice mellow exhale. And as soon as that exhale's out, my regulator's like, bloop, mask, bloop, gone, strap popped. And so you grab onto a strap and you just wait for the violence to be over. And so it's anywhere from like 20 to 30 seconds. Like you'll hear the instructor's watch beep at 20 seconds, but they are beating the shit out of you on the bottom of that pool.
Like how?
They'll grab you and they're kneeing you in the chest, in the sternum. They'll put their foot into your chest and they'll take your waist strap and they'll tighten it so tight. So any air left will just push and squeeze on your diaphragm and just push it out. So you've got no air. So then when it ends, you're just like chicken necking. You're like, and so by the end, this is for a week, right? So by the end of it, your eyes are like that red. Like
every day?
Every day. Every day, because you do a light and then a medium and then a heavy. And then you do light, medium, heavy with your partner. And so they just beat the crap out of you. And then there's a very specific way, like you've got your tanks and then everything else is off, but it's around you. So you have to like clear left, clear right, clear above, clear front, bring it in front of you. And then there's a certain way to like make sure your regulator wasn't cycled, and you're getting graded the whole time.
So after that ass kicking that you receive, right? After you get everything pulled off of you, you get an ass kicking, you have to put everything back on.
You put everything back on. And so I remember when I was going from my light to my medium hit. And so I literally like, and the safety diver's down there with a little whiteboard and a grease pen. And he's like, hey, you did this good. Stay calm, you know, carry on. And they give you this signal. So I go from my knees and I barely get horizontal to keep going. Wham! Got hit again. And then went right into it. And so this time they'll turn off and they'll just do different things. But they're just trying to make sure that you're calm enough without air. And dude, there's times where it's like your vision's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And you finally get that thing on. You're like, blowing into that thing. You're trying to clear it. And then all of a sudden it's like, whew, you see again.
Like you get to the other, whoa.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then you get air and you're like, oh, I can see again. Cool, man, you're good. And then buddy hits were fine. They hated my partner. He just had a bad attitude. So on the partner hits, you're holding on to each other's gear. And I would just feel this just like violence. And I'm like, I don't want to look, dude. Because I know if I look, I'm going to get just jacked up. So I'm just going. And dude, I can just hear him. And then they would just pop off my mask. And I'd be like, what the fuck?
And everybody's just fucking jumping this guy. Because he was a fucking asshole. Yeah. So that was the opportunity.
Yep. Young kid. He had a bad attitude. And they were just jacking him up, dude. And then I would just, you go through your process and you're done. And then ultimately you get into nighttime and then you're doing all of your dives at nighttime. So like your first dive, you've got a big compass board, you got a compass, a watch, and your depth gauge. And so by this point, you know, roughly 500 meters takes me X amount of minutes. So when I'm subsurface, I should know, you know, and dude, I went in January. It was so cold, dude. My dive log, the water temp was like lower 40s and the air temp would be like high 30s, low 40s.
Fucking cold, dude.
Yeah.
That's cold enough to snow, I think.
It was miserable cold. My dive partner, Chris Forncrook, got hypothermia on the 10-kilometer fin. Oh, like by the time we got him onto the boat, had just about stopped shivering and had no clue where he was.
Oh man.
Like that level of hypothermia.
That's cold.
And
That's hard.
dude.
It's hard to function when you're cold.
Yeah. Yep. And then you're just burning calories. So to try and keep up your energy and your food intake and all these things, but just, dude, so cold. And yeah,
because your adrenaline only lasts for so long, right? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I've done like my pull in the back, I've done cold plunges back there, right? Dude, it's fucking cold, man.
Yeah.
And I know that after a while, I start to realize that I'm cold.
Yeah, but you're just sitting there. So when you're doing that fin, you have a time limit, right? So if you're trying to get to, here's the pier, you'll get dropped off 2 kilometers away. You're in the boat, and they're like, does everyone see the flashing light from the boat? Yes. Prepare to enter the water. You go through the sequence, and then you enter the water. And then when you're at, head above the water, you're looking at that thing, and you're like, oh, I gotta go. And they're yelling at you to get under. And you're like, I think it's that heading. Okay, cool, you got buddy. Cool, you give them the signal, and then you guys both go down. And then it's total darkness. And it was like Fantasia, because you would move your hand and there'd be this like luminescent plankton in there.
Yeah.
So if you weren't driving and you're just along for the ride, like you're getting graded. You're going to do 2 dives every night. So you're the first driver. You're going to do your 1,500 meter dive, and I'm just with you in case you go tits up.
Okay.
And so you're driving, so you're staring at the compass and you're kind of guiding us where we're going to go. And the whole time I'm just staring at you, just kicking. And you're down there for like 45 minutes, an hour, and you're just like goofing around. And you're like, oh, that's cool.
You're down there for that long.
Yeah.
That's a long time, dude.
And then you would get to your target. And then my buddy Chris and I were pretty good. We get there and they'd be like, hey, we're dive team 3. Dive team 3, watch your head. You guys are under the boat. Come to the surface. Then you'd come to the surface. You'd go through your procedures. And then you'd get out. And then depending on the length of the dive and your bottom time, they would switch out your canister, and then you'd go back out and you'd go dive again.
Mm. And
so you're smoked. But you start diving, your first dive is at sunset, and then gradually it goes, it's like every 24, 26 hours, then you dive again.
Mm.
And so by the end of it, you're diving at nighttime, doing turns underwater in total darkness. So you're like, okay, I think I've gone roughly 1,200 meters. At 1,500 meters, I know I need to turn to this azimuth or this heading.
What is it that you have?
So it's this little plastic board. It's probably about this big. So it's probably about that big. You got 2 handles, and it's a compass. And then you have your watch and your depth gauge. And the only light that you have, you'll take a glow stick, and then you'll take it out of the wrapper, and then you tape it up. So there's only like a little sliver of light that shines directly onto your compass, and that's it. That's the only light you see down there. Other than like if there is some like bioluminescent, it's darkness.
It sounds like a lot of the training is for you to remain focused and calm while everything is going to shit around you, and it's training you to think straight.
The crazier way you're exactly right. And the crazier way to think about it, most of the time, if you were to dive in that application, that's just to get to work. Rarely are you going to go and put a bomb or put anything on a harbor or a boat. Usually that's your infiltration method. That's just how you get to work.
Right.
And so in a tactical application, what you would probably do is you'd start from a bigger boat to a medium boat, get on a small boat, and you're traveling the whole time towards your target. Typically you'd get dumped out anywhere from like 5 to 7 kilometers. And so we call it turtlebacking, because all your gear's on your front, you've got your ruck, everything's waterproof, so you're on your back. You're looking over your shoulder, okay, I'm going to the same spot, cool, you're just kicking the whole time, and it's you and a team. And then at roughly 2 kilometers away from your target, that's when you go subsurface. And then you're all, call it a Budweiser line, so it's a long rope, and then there's dudes off of the sides of each rope. And then that's how you're going submersed, total darkness, no bubbles, just creeping to your target.
And there's one guy in the front leading that Budweiser line.
That dude's driving.
And everybody else is just chilling.
Yep.
Or you guys are kicking your feet,
you're
right?
Kicking your,
right? You're going for it, right?
Butt off, dude. Yeah. Yep.
So, dude, Pete, that's fucking crazy. So, like you said, so what is that training called that you went through?
The Marine Combatant Dive course. That course for diving.
All of it together to prep you for your recon job.
So to go pre-recon, you're what's called a roper. So you wear a static chromantle rope. There's 2 very specific knots that you have to wear, and you actually wear it at all times. It's a tradition. So you wear the rope, and then you wear a rucksack with 45 pounds, and you have to run. There's like all these little things you have to do, but you're affectionately known as a roper before you become a reconnaissance man, or reconnaissance marine. And And so that's it. And so, yeah, during that time, you're down selected the whole time. And a lot of it is just, like you said earlier, it's staying calm. There's, I think it's 13 different knots that you have to know where the running ends, like the loose end of it, at the time couldn't be longer than a fist or a fist and a thumb. So if my knot looked like that, you failed. So I learned all of my knots at the bottom of the Camp Schwab pool in Okinawa, where they'd like tie a bowline on a bite. You're like, okay, cool. And then you'd give the signal, I forget if it's a 2 or a 4 to go down. And you go down to the bottom ladder rung of the ladder and you would tie the knot. And then somebody would swim up and they'd look at it and they'd be like, and then they would just grab you like an alligator and just roll you around and just thrash you. And you'd, same thing, you'd be out of air. And you just have to go calm and just go to your happy place. It'll be over soon.
Save energy as well, right? Because you know that once all that is over with, you have to get right back to work.
Yeah,
like you don't want to waste excess energy that's required.
But it would terrify guys to the point where guys wouldn't want to take showers. Guys would be so afraid of the water. Guys would be like, "Fuck, dude, I don't like. Nope, I'm good. I never want to see water ever again." Grown men.
Hey, because drowning is like a fear that we're all born. It's like falling.
100%.
Right? Babies are. I don't know. Falling is but I think that the fear of drowning develops early. If you're not born with it, it develops early.
As soon as you can understand the severity of water, your parents, don't go by the pool, don't be, if you fall in, and you're like, well, they're always scared. So then you're just like hardwired for it.
And you're suffocating.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to suffocate.
No.
Oh, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, so you graduate, right?
Yep.
And then what happens after you graduate?
So 2004, I go back to 3rd Recon Battalion. We go to...
Wait, have you been to combat yet?
No.
Before that?
This is before. So I go boot camp, comm school, Okinawa, Japan, basic reconnaissance course, and then I go back to training. And then we go to Fallujah, Iraq in February or March of 2005. And then we were there for 10 months. It wasn't the big gnarly Phantom Fury, we got in one gunfight, shot one dude, that was it. The rest of the time we're, bad intel, we're figuring things out. And so this was the calm between the storm between Fallujah and then Ramadi in 2006. So we're driving around, we get hit by a couple IEDs, we take sporadic rocket fire or mortars, but it definitely wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
And these are the first 10 months. This is your first time out there, 10 months. All right.
Yep. And then you see it quick. I remember before I went there, you're like, Toby Keith, red, white, and blue, America, fuck yeah. And then you get out there and you're like, dude, these people don't want us here. Like, this is wild, but I'm making good tax-free money and I'm with all my buds. And this is probably better than going to college.
I'm learning all this cool shit.
Yeah, and you're learning cool stuff.
Fucking shooting fucking guns, you know what I mean? Learning all this, using all this crazy equipment, dog.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. And so after that deployment, I wanted to go to California, at the time, it's called Force Reconnaissance. They're in Camp Pendleton, California. A fairly storied unit just for their time, in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I'm like, I want to go to Force Reconnaissance. I'll do one more combat deployment, make a bunch of tax-free money, and then I'll get out and go to college or get a job.
How old are you at this point?
21.
Okay.
I'm 21 years old. So they come back and they say, hey, no, we're not going to send you to First Recon Battalion. You're going to go to First Force Recon Company. So Force Recon there's a big difference, right? So if you were to go kind of if Recon is high school varsity football, Force Recon is NCAA, and then you've got MARSOC is going to be your NFL. And then there's guys above that. Your Pro Bowlers, your Delta Force, your SEAL Team 6, that's above that.
Okay.
So anyway, got orders to First Force Recon Company. I'm in 4th Platoon, and I'm surrounded by giants, guys that I've heard of, people that I know of, and I'm the youngest guy.
Hey, and these guys, these giants, what is the the atmosphere that they create, because of their personalities, their presence? What kind of atmosphere does that create?
Consummate professionalism, where the motto is every day is selection. So every day you're trying to be better. Every day that might be your best bud, but you're trying to beat him at absolutely everything. And so examples of that would be a good friend of mine, Jake. He and I still lived in the barracks at the time. So think college dorms. We would train, you'd wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, you'd go PT, then you'd go to the range all day, and you'd get home, 7, 8 at night. We'd go out to eat. Before Jake and I would go out to eat, I would go knock on his barracks door open it up, and he would be in full gear putting fake bombs, breaches on the door just to practice, just to get better. And you're like, dude, you did that for 12 hours today. And he's like, I'm not fast enough. I have to be better. Right. And so, but that was like that, and that's an everyday thing.
That was the mentality.
That's the mentality. And then guys, two guys, Josh and Owen, that we were in the same section of our isolation room, the ISO. So think just like a big garage with like cabinets and gear cages with all your kit. Josh and Owen each were awarded medals for valor. They killed like 32 dudes between breakfast and dinner time with bolt action sniper rifles. Stuff like that, where you're like, dude, I've read about you. Like, holy smokes. Another guy, Jeremy, got a Bronze Star with a V for what should have been a Medal of Honor.
What's a V?
That's the device. The small little V, it's awarded for valor. So you can get a Bronze Star, and if it doesn't have a V, then you did something, whatever, like some admin thing, or you made the process better, you did something. But if it has a V, then you distinguish yourself in combat with valor, and that's a big deal. And so, but yeah, Jeremy's citation was like a Medal of Honor, like type citation, like wild. So anyway, that was the environment, and you're like, man, you want to be better, you want to work hard. And on the weekends, instead of just like blowing off steam and going to the beach to surf, it's like, hey, let's put rucks on and we'll go run this mountain. That's what we're gonna do all day today. And so you're constantly training.
So during this time when you're there and during this period, you know that you're gonna fucking get deployed somewhere.
Yeah.
And fucking go get some.
Yep.
You know that. And so that's why it's like, hey, we got to get better.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. No. And then, I mean, the physical part and then the mental part's even more of it. We had our boss at the time, a guy named Kevin Harris, was an absolute machine. Like, just stud, dude. Just stud. So, like, every day would be a tryout where I'd been in the team prior where it was, hey, we're going to go to the gym. This is what we're going to lift. And then we're going to run this. You knew. We called him Big H, big light-skinned black dude from Chicago. He had Psycho tattooed on his arm, like jailhouse tattoo. I think it was missing the H. It was something was spelled wrong. Giant dude, but he talked like Snoop Dogg. He'd be like, yo, Perry, come here, dog. What's up, dog? What are you doing? Come here, motherfucker. He'd be like, just terrified, but just super soft-spoken. But the idea would be, hey, we're going to go to the pool, and we're going to swim 2,000 meters in camis and boots. And then you get out and be like, oh, we're done, sick. And he'd be like, you're not. Grab your ruck with 45 pounds, and we're going to run back to the camp today. And you're like, fuck. And then you would run back, and then you would go start your day. Okay. And so you never knew what was going on. So we had a lot of guys get hurt. And so in retrospect, probably not the smartest, but they were trying to thin dudes out for sure.
Yeah.
And then we came back from a training evolution in Hawthorne, Nevada. We were out there for about like 45 days. And we came back and they're like, hey, the Marine Corps is finally in U.S. Special Operations Command, which is a big deal. And so when that stood up in 1982, every component in the military, in Department of Defense, gave up their best of the best, and the Marine Corps said, no, there's not an elite within an elite organization. We will not be ponying anyone up to U.S. SOCOM. So that was in 1982. So that's where, SEALs were already there, Rangers, Green Beret, all that stuff's been there since forever, but now they're under like one uniform command. And so this was a big deal. Like Donald Rumsfeld came to the Marine Corps and said, you're going to give guys up. You don't have an option. You're going to give guys up. So they took my platoon on the West Coast and another platoon on the East Coast and said, boom, you guys are now MARSOC, Marine Corps Special Operations Command. And so from there...
hey, so the Marines held out.
Oh, they hated it, dude. They hated it, dude. They still hate it. They still hate it, dude.
They're like, no, we don't need to be a part of that.
We're good. Yeah, which is silly. It's such a closed-minded kind of thought process. And so because like anything else, like talent will naturally rise. Because you're bringing in people, whether they're a dog handler, a radio operator, a truck mechanic, a data specialist that's like hooking up secret internet. They can go to that organization if they want to, and they're going to get head and shoulders better, and then they go back out to the Marine Corps. So as a whole, the whole unit's going to get better, the whole organization. Right. But they didn't know what to do with this, man. Like at first, they're like, hey, you guys are going to go to Iraq. So we're training to go back to Iraq. And probably, as far as I knew, like up until like a couple weeks before, they're like, we're not going to Iraq. You're going to go to the Philippines. So we went to the Philippines and did like a 50-day joint counter narcotic type thing where we were training with Filipino special operations guys. It was a really large
narcotic. Like,
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, narcotics. So that's the primary funding for terrorism.
okay.
Right, is one of the primary funding mechanisms. And so there's the Abu Sayyaf. There's a bunch of Islamic terrorist groups. I mean, dude, within the last 10 years, there were whole cities in the Philippines that had ISIS flags like flying in the town center, like that level of like bad guy stuff. So we went to the Philippines, and then they're like, "Hey, you guys are going to go to Afghanistan now." We're like, "Okay, cool, figure it out."
Yeah.
So we fly out of the Philippines, then we end up in Afghanistan, and we do a whole rotation there, and very different from my first Iraq deployment.
Why, dog?
The level of violence. The level of violence was the biggest differentiator. So we show up, we're on a team with an Army Special Forces camp, and they're trying to tell us all these things, like, this is how gnarly it is. And we're like, whatever, dude. We just got back from Iraq, like, whatever. And then our first mission was to do a quick reaction force, a QRF mission. We drive like 3-4 hours on like hardball highway to get there. By the time we get there, I think they already have like 1 or 2 like killed in action. And so what it showed me really quickly was like how unsupported it was. By the time I was in Iraq, you would drive down the road and you'd see an Army convoy, a Marine unit, this infrastructure was everywhere. But Afghanistan was like, dude, you were in bad guy country immediately.
Oh shit. There was like the presence, like not as much of a presence there.
Not at all, dude. At that point, it was still very much a special operations conflict, and big Army, big Marine Corps was in Iraq. And so we go out, we do that. The sun sets, we go to sleep, and then the next day they're like, "Well, we're out. We don't have anything planned. Let's go kick this hornet's nest." So we drive down to the Helmand River, and then we're down there, and immediately we can listen to all their radio traffic. So we can hear very quickly, like, "Hey, we see this truck on the mountain, shoot at it." And then all of a sudden, a rocket, goof, we go flying by. We had a British guy out with us. He ended up taking frag in the majority of a blast from a mortar. So very quickly, we had like a high level of respect. Like first, second round impact from their mortars were really accurate. And then that just started off a whole deployment where we would go out anywhere from 4 to 10 days and just live and fight out of our trucks. So each truck would have a 50 cal on the top or a Mark 19. That's a 40 millimeter grenade launcher. And then in the back of the truck would have an M249. So it's 5.56 automatic weapon, and then an M240, which is a 7.62. So you've got immediately like 3 guns that can do some good damage. And then probably 2 to 4 rocket systems per truck.
How many trucks?
We would typically go out like 5 trucks.
Fuck, that's a lot. How many guys? How many of you guys?
Probably 4 to 5 dudes per truck.
And you guys are out there just gunfighting?
Yeah. We would just do movement to contact. So just reconnaissance by fire. So we'd go out and we knew, hey, if we go into this area, we'd have like loose intel. There's bad guys in Hyderabad, a town along the Helmand River. And as soon as you would get to the like cliffs overlooking Hyderabad, immediately they're on the radio. Immediately you would see all the women and children like in a conga line running out of the village, and then mortars, rockets, and then medium machine gun fire would start to happen. And the crazier thing was, there's old like Russian anti-tank mines. So we have like we have Taliban. The IED threat wasn't bad yet, but we lost a couple trucks to like old like Russian anti-tank mines, which is always crazy. But yeah, and then you're just fighting, dude. There'd be to the point where those 5 trucks would come back, and almost every piece of glass would be shattered. I was the driver on that deployment. I was the youngest guy. So I'd be driving and you would just watch rounds or like an RPG whoop, skip off the ground in front of you.
Hey, being the youngest guy, right?
Yeah.
So because you were the youngest guy, were you like always pushed to the front? Like, hey, do this. Hey, Perry, come do this. Hey,
no,
do this.
I had such good leadership where they're like, hey, we're going to go check this thing out. You're going to come with me, but I'm going to go first. So let's go, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the movies where it's like, who's the youngest dude? All right, you die.
You're fucking one of the sticks.
Fucking die. No, they did a good job of insulating me and then making sure, because it's one of those things where it's like, cool, if I go down there as the youngest guy and I get smoked, 3, 4, 5 dudes then have to go and get me, and then it's a giant shit show. So, but yeah, dude, there'd be times where just... Man, one of the gnarlier engagements. So we had intelligence that, here's a bad guy lives in this house. So we park and we're walking down. We needed to investigate something. And what we learned was don't blow a wall or a door off, because the bad guys are going to hear it. And so we didn't, for whatever reason, didn't take that into account. So we do some business in this house. And as we're moving to this house, these dudes all wake up now. And so we're in a ditch. It's probably like thigh high in this ditch. And this compound is off to my 1 o'clock, probably like 40 meters away. And we see a dude walking around with an AK, and you see a bunch of lasers go on him. Everybody shoots him. The guy goes down, and then all hell breaks loose. Probably 5, 6, 7 dudes, RPGs, AK-47s, and medium machine guns, so probably a PKM, open up on us. And we're just hammered, dude. So we're all in a straight line. And so it goes my buddy Joe, another Joe, my buddy RJ, me, and then the rest of our team. The fire was so close and so accurate that as we're shooting, I'm right-handed, RJ is left-handed. A round hit his Surefire, hit his flashlight on his M4 and exploded and went to his throat. So as I'm shooting, I just see this bright flash, and I see him slump down. So I get down behind some cover, and I'm like yelling at him, like, "Hey, are you good?" He doesn't say shit and just pops back up and just keeps shooting. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we keep shooting, and we end up doing it's what's called an Australian peel. So think of like an Indian run in reverse. This dude gets up, and then he runs. Now he's in the back, and you keep shooting. On that run back is when you'll more than likely reload. That way you have a full mag to keep doing business. So we do this Australian peel, and we get out, and then it was a whole thing.
And that's how you guys got out of that.
That's how we got out of that. Okay. Yep. Which is like a Vietnam era tactic.
Okay.
Right. And so, which it all kind of like meshes back together. But yeah, man, it was a wild time. And then you're still out there. So we get out, we medevac RJ, and then you're still out there for like another week.
How do you get, okay, the windows that were broken?
Yeah.
How are those windows get fixed?
We fully replace them. So these windows are probably like 4 or 5 inches thick ballistic glass. So when we
so
get
you guys
back,
are out there like fucking nomads, dude.
Yeah. Yep. But they don't get fixed until you get back to the camp.
Right.
So when you're out for 5-10 days and those windows are shattered, you're like, I hope nothing else hits that. We had close calls where rounds would somehow penetrate. I don't know if it was between the metal or the ballistic glass, but where a round would go through the entire cab and then fragment on the inside of the cab. But you got to drive slow enough that the guy on the heavy machine gun can maintain accurate fire because you're driving through a farm field and it's just undulating terrain. So this dunk. Dude, those turrets were so heavy that if they broke, then you would just have this dude just spinning freely and having to like manually stop that. Because otherwise it's on this big gear system. You can kind of crank it around. And so...
dude, that thing is big and heavy.
Massive, dude. We broke ours. So we get into a contact. We're fighting. We're driving towards this house, just going through this farm field. And then boom, we hit this big thing. And now my truck is stuck. So I'm a driver. All of a sudden, an RPG skips off the ground, goes right in front of us. I'm trying to get this thing out. We get it unstuck, and in doing so, hit a giant bump, which it broke my buddy RJ's turret. So RJ's back now. RJ ended up getting sutures in his throat. He's back. He's back to fucking fighting. So, we're getting shot at. So the truck is stuck. We get us unstuck, but it breaks the 50 cal because I think it was either 1,000 or 2,000 rounds of 50 cal in the turret. So he's got a 50 cal, another 1,000 rounds on the outside of the turret, in little ammo cans, probably 250 round belts, 200 round belts that he can get on. There's probably a rocket system up there. There's going to be a shotgun inside of the turret, right? So this thing it's way too heavy, dude. We like max weight and then some. And so we get unstuck, we get the whole thing, we're shooting at dudes. And then we're driving back out into this big field.
You're shooting at them, they're shooting at you.
Yeah, yeah. Like while we're stuck, like doors open, like boom, 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 quick, close the door. Okay, get the fuck out of here. And as we're driving through this field, they're on the radio and they're laughing at us. We can hear them laughing. Oh, they drove into a minefield. Oh,
wait, what the fuck? So they're like, yeah, they drove into a minefield.
Yeah.
So you heard them say that.
Yeah.
Fucking hit the fucking
hit the brakes. So we stop. And so now we've got my buddy Josh, who's a sniper. He's on a 50 cal. He's on the Sasser, just putting rounds at dudes back at the target. And so we're maybe 400 or 500 meters away, and we're like, fuck it, we're dropping bombs on these dudes. So we had a French F-16 comes flying over. So if this is the target, we're all like straight line with it. This F-16 goes, they give the call, 3, 2, 1, bombs away, and you're just waiting for it. We're all staring at it, and you just hear this whoa, boom, and you're like, oh shit! It was like way over there in the middle of the desert. They didn't drop on the target.
Oh shit!
For whatever reason, right? And so either we think that the laser designator, something was off, right? But they were like, oh, they're French, they're being pussies, fuck them. So we send them away, and then 4 F-15s show up, and they just level this fucking compound, dude. But when you're within 500 meters of multiple 500-pound bombs, like it feels like you get like punched in the chest. It's a cool feeling because you're just watching, like you see this giant mud hut that's been there forever, and you just see shit just flying hundreds of feet in the air, and it's like the most.
And then you feel it.
Oh yeah, yep. So it'd be stuff like that, dude, where we would just, then you're fighting all day from there. We get out of the minefield, and we would just keep fighting.
You said Helmand River?
Yeah.
And is that why you have the...
Yep, so yeah, the Helmand Valley Gun Club. So my buddy Will Simpson...
Let me see that.
So my buddy Will Simpson...
I'm gonna post a picture of that tattoo.
Yeah, dude. My buddy Will Simpson, at the time, like the Orange County Choppers thing was kind of big, or it was sort of big still. And so he just made a hat where it was, it was a motorcycle and then this big reticle, because the Taliban would move spotters in and out on motorcycles. And so you'd hear him talking, and then you'd watch him move, and then you'd see it, and then you'd see the radio, and you'd see a weapon, and the guys on the up guns would just dump them. So it was a reticle with a motorcycle, and then Helmand Valley Gun Club, right? And so that then became this, like, I don't know. I mean, at the time, there was a lot of like motorcycle club influence, like all these different like gang culture, punk rock stuff, everything all like put into one. And so then it became this thing of like, yeah, if you went to the Helmand and you killed a bunch of dudes, like you rate an HVGC tattoo. Right. And so,
hey, I remember you told me that you were at a bar or you were somewhere, and that you got a drink, and someone's like, "Hey, Helmand Valley, what do you know about that?" And you're like, "What do I know about this?"
Yeah, no, I got checked by 2 dudes.
Yeah.
So we had East Coast dudes that the East Coast MARSOC component was in Western Afghanistan, and we were in Southern. We were in the Helmand, and they were out closer to Iran. Well, finally, probably 2011, 12 timeframe, they started bringing East Coast dudes down to the Helmand. And so, Max Kutch was the guy that was like, "What do you know about that?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
Like, what, dude? And so he's a good dude. He's a fucking solid human being, but it would be that kind of thing where it's like, you don't get a tattoo and then go to prison, and if you don't rate it, like, they're going to find out real quick.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So it's the same thing.
So I wonder how many guys have that. Did everybody on your team get that?
Most guys.
That's cool.
Most guys have it. Even guys that had no tattoos would just get it blasted down their whole rib cage, or because it was one of those things where it's like, dude, you would just like, you lived, you survived.
Right?
But yeah, that's the whole Helmand Valley Gun Club. So yeah, we did that whole deployment like that, where just you would go out for, like I said, 4 to 10 days, and there'd be times where we would have to do an aerial resupply. So we're so far away from everybody that a C-130 would kick out pallets, like big pallets with like food, water, and just ammo. And the shit would land out in the middle of the desert. We'd go out like a video game, recharge, and then go right back in, and then just keep fighting and keep getting it on.
Hey, would you ever, like, when you guys were like at night or whatever, like, were you guys always on watch, like, so that you don't get ambushed?
Always.
Right?
Yep.
They know you're out there.
Yeah.
And so because if they know you're out there, they're going to try to stop you.
Yep. Yeah. No.
Did you guys ever get hit like that?
Not too much at night, just because they didn't have a night vision capability in 2007. Later on, they would, dude. Later on, it got really dicey at nighttime. Not dicey, but just not equal, but closer to. They then had a similar capability.
It's there. You got a heads up because they got this now.
Well, like the next time we went, they were having, the Taliban would have just a regular video camera you could buy off of eBay that had a night vision capability, and they would see stuff. And they'd be like, "Oh, they're over there." Right? And so, yeah, dude, just that deployment, I think we ended up killing like 400 or 500 dudes.
What the fuck?
On that deployment.
Just your team.
Yeah.
Your team.
Yep.
It's a lot, man.
Yep. And so, this is wild times, dude. Wild times.
How many deployments do you have?
I did 4 combat deployments. So 1 to Iraq and then 3 to the Helmand.
What was you did 3 in the Helmand?
Yeah.
All right. What was the wildest one?
Probably that first. I mean, dude, they're all different in different ways. They're all super wild in different ways. Where, the first one, you're out just playing cowboys and Indians, dude. You're out, you're trying to get somewhere, you get ambushed, you fight. And then the next one, we're living in bad guy country. So like our camp would get attacked on average of every other day. So at this point, we're in Sangin, Afghanistan, out of Fob Robinson. Taliban snipers were like killing our like indigenous guards. So you'd be out for a run and you would just you'd hear around, and then all of a sudden you'd see dudes in a whole kerfuffle, and a sniper would have killed one of the guards. Like good shots, like dead center, boom, out. And then that would present different issues where well, the guy's dead. We're not going to call on a helicopter to get him out today. We'll do it when we can. So we had these big freezer containers where we'd keep our food in it. And so there'd be times where it's like, hey, we have to eat all the chicken, eat all the whatever, because we got to put Muhammad in the freezer on ice until we can get dude out. And then you'd forget about it. You'd go in there and be like, oh, some chicken nuggets. Fuck, there's a dude.
Fuck. Like a little shocker, a little reminder. That's crazy,
well, you
man.
just see a body bag in there. And you're like, oh, that's fucking dude. All right, cool. Because you train all these dudes, so you know them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I've done it where we lived on a big camp where I had a swimming pool and my own range and shoot out. Like I've had the full experience, dude. And so but every single Afghan deployment, every single one was just violence the entire time.
Damn, man.
And so you go do that for 8-9 months, and then it would be more wild. I mean, we trained these dudes in the 80s, and then all of our stuff's online. So you'd be in a gunfight and you would watch them run your tactics on you, and you're like,
right. So they're training based on your training, based on, like you said, your videos.
Yeah.
So they're using your tactics.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Of course, they're not doing it. They're not doing it as good as you guys are doing it, but
sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, dude.
I would imagine. Yeah. Repetition.
Yeah. Sometimes they are, man. So, but yeah, just extreme levels of violence, dude.
Where was it when you had to put on like a special protector on?
Oh yeah.
And that's when you told me the story that you were telling your tell that story.
Yeah. So
tell me that.
In 2011 and 12, the IED threat, the improvised explosive device, just booby traps, the threat was so high and so prevalent. You would get your intel brief and it would be, IED threat. It'd be none, low, medium, high, extremely high. Every time we went out in the Helmand was extremely high. And there was a couple parts where I'm like, this is now my third time to the same place. So I'd been on missions on each of those 3 deployments to the same village where you're like, I remember that. So-and-so got killed over there. We did that there. I'm back. So you would know, like, oh, we're going to go to Hyderabad or Kali Agaz. Like, they'd be like, oh, we're going to go to Compton. Those cities just have, like, notoriety. Those towns do. And so the bomb threat was so high. On that 3rd deployment, I walked as the point man. So the #1 dude in the order of march. And so
is that when you were like, when you told him, hey, look for my waffle print on the floor?
Look for my vans, look for the footprint, you'll see it step where I step. Because it was to that point where you would chase a dude down and you'd kill him, and then you'd be like, fuck, how did I get here? And you'd have to very quickly, like, because there'd be times, not all the time, there'd be times where you'd look and you're like, bomb, fuck, dude, like, fuck. And so you would literally just make little dirt rainbows until you'd get up and you'd find a pressure plate, and then from there you would just solve that problem. So you would either reduce it in place, or because the threat too would be, hey, you found one and then there's like 5 more around it.
Right.
So
like a decoy, right? Or we found one to stop looking type of shit. But little do you know, that one was just to satisfy you and make you feel like you're safe. But instead it's fucking just booby trapped.
Dude. And there's some of the most horrific stuff I've ever seen as a result of that, right? And so you would literally had to like watch where you would step constantly. And so just wild times, dude, wild times. And so we would make fun of it and be like, dude, we're going here for sure. I'm getting my legs blown off.
Fuck.
Maybe at least I'll have my dick and my balls. I want to have kids one day, so I'm going to wear this diaper. And so it was no shit, just a Kevlar diaper that you would put on, and you're just walking. And there'd be times where you're like, you'd be very calculated where you would go, very specific tactics to avoid it. But there were 2 times where I was like, goodbye legs. Like, dude, I'm 27, 28 at the time, and I'd go to put my socks on and be like, goodbye feet.
That's crazy.
Goodbye toes. Never gonna see you again. And then you would go out and do work, right? And then guys would make fun of it. Guys would put, if on the tops of their feet, if found, return to Fob Robinson or whatever camp.
Your address?
Yeah. Yep. Or like where you were on that deployment. Right. Christmas Eve of 2011, I got the Christmas Story leg lamp tattooed on my leg. Just dark humor. I'm like, it'd be funny if it got blown off, because it'd be funny.
They'll find a leg with the leg tattoo on it. I'm gonna post a picture of that too. I'm gonna put a picture of that too.
Yep. And
that's
so
fucking crazy.
Yeah, you deal with a lot of it in dark humor, and I think what movies and shows don't capture is the level of, at least in my organization, and I think it's fairly similar across most professional fighting organizations, like SOF units. Like, dude, you're having fun. You're out there, and like my buddy Red one day, he's getting shot at, and you could see the rounds just go up and over him. And you're like, they call it over the radio. They're like, hey man, they can see you. You might want to move. Like, how do you not laugh at that?
Yeah.
Right? So you're just like, you're getting shot at. You're about, you're very close to death, but you just have to make fun of it.
You have
gotta
to
laugh, dude. Because otherwise you would just go internal and freak the fuck out.
Exactly.
So there's times where it's like shit's going down and it's just you and your buds and you're just laughing. You're pinned down and you can see and feel and hear bullets skip off right around you and you're just giggling.
Like, then we'll fight in the shade.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's it, dude.
Right?
That's exactly that. Yep. Because you've just made peace with it and like, this is what I'm doing, man. That's it. And so that was my entire 20s, was doing that.
Dude, okay, so I remember you were telling me, and this left an impact on me because I thought this was fucking cool. I think maybe it was when you were in Fallujah and you were talking to, and you guys were asking around, because you guys dressed different as well, right? Right? So I remember you saying that you were like, hey, have you ever shot this before? Well, you're gonna learn how to shoot this. Or have you ever done this? No, well, you're gonna do this. Like, you guys started teaching guys, teaching them.
Yeah, we did a big clear in a town called Kajaki. There's a big dam on the northern end of the Helmand River that does a lot of the hydroelectric power for that region.
Dude, you were all in that fucking Helmand Valley, the Helmand River, dude.
The whole thing.
So that's why you would get that. Man. That's fucking bad, man.
No, dude, I can still look at a map. I can get on Google Earth and be like, that's there, did that there, that's there. And so that was our first mission in 2011. We're replacing the team. So you do what's called a left seat, right seat. So you've been there for 9 months. I'm coming in. You and I are going to go together on at least 1 or 2 missions together. This is everything we've learned. Peace. Good luck. So we're doing that in Kajaki. I forget which Marine Corps infantry unit came in, but they came in and they're going to now occupy this area that we've helped clear. And so you could just tell, dude, the morale was super low. Guys were just over it. And so,
because they haven't been out there for so long,
they get treated so poorly. The Marine Corps infantry is like a fighting dog. That's how they're treated, dude. Even on the big camps, when they're not out on a mission, they're in the farthest corner of the camp. They're treated like shit. They get the least amount of resources, and everybody almost looks down on them. And that's the mission of the Marine Corps, is to support that infantryman. Doesn't matter if you're an F-35 pilot, a Marine Raider, everybody in between is to support that dude. So I think these guys had been out for probably a little over a month, if my memory's right. And so we're like just trying to raise morale. Like, hey fellas, like, who's the youngest guy here? You're 18? You want to shoot a rocket at some dudes? Yeah. And just let dudes crank rockets off at bad guys that had never done it. Or, hey, we're going to exfil tonight. We're going to fly out tonight. Each one of our elements would have an Iridium phone. You've got a satellite phone. You guys want to call home real quick? Fuck, dude, I haven't talked to my mom in months. Cool, man. Call home.
That's fucking cool,
dog. And so, but we would take that to where, when we were back on the big camps, I'm dressed just like this dude. Pair of jeans, hiking boots, big beard, walking around, gun. And we'd see dudes at like Tim Hortons, like the Canadian Starbucks or Green Bean coffee shop. And you'd see that you could tell the infantry guys, because their uniforms would just be almost bleached white, just from like being out in the sun and whatever. They'd be all emaciated. And you're like, hey fella, come here, man. They'd be like, yes, sir. And you're like, not a sir. My name's Pete. What do you do? I'm a 0311 with blah, blah, blah Marine Corps unit. And you're like, sick. Where have you been? What are you seeing? What are you doing? And we would take them to get coffee and we would just swap. This is cool. We just left there. Oh shit, I'm going to go there. Cool. Like, and you're all just trying to stay alive. It doesn't matter like what you do. Like, you just have that mutual respect, right? So yeah, for a long time.
And that's fucking dope ass leadership, man. You know what I mean? And that's like, because like you said, everybody supports the infantry.
Yep.
And if morale is down, you got to build that morale up. And because morale is contagious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So get one dude and get him at a level to where he's feeling good.
Yep.
Hey, he's going to talk to his buddy. Hey, check this out. Hey, you know where I just came from right now? Or hey, you know what? I feel a little bit better. Let me try to, and just spread that. I've been reading the 33 strategies of war, dog.
Yeah.
And in the 33 strategies of war, they stress how important it is to keep morale up amongst the troops.
Big time.
Yeah, man.
Big time, dude. Huge. And so, I mean, we would talk to these dudes as often as we could, try and take care of them, help them. But then selfishly too, like we would get things from them. Oh, we were just up in whatever, Nowzat, or we were here, we were there. Oh shit, I'm going there in 2 weeks. Because dude, it's serious.
Hell yeah, you got to spread that shit. Because you know what? Because information that you got is going to help me out. Information that I have is going to help you out. You have to debrief each other on what you know.
Well, and dude, life's short, man. Like literally.
Yeah,
so
that fucking Red Bull just hit right now.
Yeah.
Cheers, dog.
Cheers, dog. So when we would fly out on this particular deployment, 2011 and 12, we had a force ratio of 1 to 5. So for every 1 US, there had to be 5 Afghans. So on your helicopter, it might be 4 to 6 U.S. dudes, 30 Afghan commandos, and then 2 interpreters. But the level of fighting was so kinetic and so intense. Like the helicopters would get shot at, you know, from time to time. The bullets would hit and penetrate the aircraft. And so before we would fly out every time, we would usually go out on 3 MH-47 Golfs from the 160th. So that's the Special Operations Aviation Regiment. That's the baddest pilots on planet Earth, period. And so we would go out usually on 3 MH-47s, but before we would leave, the whole team, dude, if you were going out, even if you were staying back, everybody would hug it out. Thug hug. Love you, dude. I'll see you when I see you.
Oh, shit.
Because you never knew if you were going to see that dude again.
Right.
Period. And by this point, most of us have been together and deploying for almost, 8 years.
You still talk to anybody?
Yeah. Yep. I'm closer with those dudes than I am my biological family that raised me.
Hey, at your wedding, you had all your fucking buddies.
Yeah.
Hey, remember the motherfucker that broke the window? I just thought about that now. Wasn't there like a window that was broken and they were trying to figure out what happened? They ran the film and a whole bunch just walked by it, hit it, and just kept going?
It was like the historic part of the Mission Inn where they're like, no one can go in there. My homie Frank and Mike go fucking walking in there. You see them in their full dress boots. They look at the window and then they come out of frame. And I think it was Frank comes running back into frame, smashes this window. I'm hammered and the head of security comes in and they're like, Mr. Perry, we need to talk to you. So I brought my homie Aaron, who was a cop in Missouri, and I'm like, you are less drunk than me. You verify all this shit. And so we go in there and we're in like the brain of the Mission Inn, all these security monitors. They rewind it, play it.
Hey, are you fresh out of the pool or what? Are you right there, guy? When I showed up, you came out of the pool and I was like, this fucker's loaded.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember saying this fucker's loaded, man. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, dude, wild times. Why? But yeah, those dudes.
Hey, so you stepped into you're looking out of the cameras.
Yeah.
And what they told you? What? Hey, look at this.
They're like, hey, so we have evidence of one of your friends. And I'm like, how do you know it's one of my friends? And it's these dudes in full Marine Corps dress blues. Enough, they look like African generals. All these medals and shit on them, and you're like, that's the homies. Fuck. I might put it on the bill, dude. Sorry, I'm gonna go back and party. And we went back to that bar, the President's Bar right there, and just fucking burned it down, dude. So just wild times, man. Wild times. But yeah, I mean that was the whole thing, dude, is you would live for the next deployment. Mm-hmm. So I went in 03, I deployed in 05, 07, 09, 11, and then through 12, and then got out in 2015. Mm-hmm. So that downtime period in between those deployments, like we're riding motorcycles, you're blasting yourself in tattoos, like you're trying to find that adrenaline rush.
Right.
There's no greater adrenaline rush than being on a massive warship on these. So think a fully blacked out Chinook, dual rotors, the large fuel boom, like best pilots on the planet. You're coming into land, you get 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. And that 1 minute time, you're looking at your night vision and you can see where you're going. You can see what's happening. 30 seconds, sometimes you can see tracers just they're going to try to shoot the aircraft. And then the second that thing lands, dude, you're running off, right? Because you're sitting on the ramp. Your feet are just dangling out. Sometimes you're just sitting like this. You're wearing probably 130 to 150 pounds of shit. It feels like nothing. Like if I could bottle that up and sell it, it'd be the best drug on the planet. And so, but there'd be times we'd land and I'd go running off the bird, number one dude. And one night we land, I'm running off the bird and an RPG, dude, probably 10, 15 feet just went cooking off, just boom. And you're like, holy shit, they can see us. So everybody gets off of the bird. You do a quick head count. You're doing like playing like tactical duck, duck, goose. You count everybody real quick. Okay, cool. We got everybody. You're looking at your GPS. You're looking at your compass. Cool. That way, go. And you're trying to move through a minefield to get to your target and go kill dudes. That's it, man.
They say that you truly enjoy life when you're closest to death.
Big time, dude. When you're deployed like that with a good group of dudes, it's like being a lost boy in Never Land. You don't have to grow up. You don't have to do anything, dude. You're fighting and killing dudes. Like it's pirate's life for me, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's what it is, dude. Like you're out, you're fighting, and then when you're back from fighting, you're training to go fight more. Mm-hmm. And then you keep fighting, and that's all you're doing, dude, for 9 to 9.5 months straight, dude. Where I think we got that rotation was fall into the summer, so we had Thanksgiving Day off and then Christmas Day off, and that's it. The rest of the time you're fighting, or you're training or working to go fight.
And you're spending Christmas there. You're spending everything's there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on the satellite phone talking to the family. Hey, cool, love you, miss you, cool, Merry Christmas. Talk to you when I talk to you. That's it. Like I would tell Aaron, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go camping for 5 days, maybe longer, but love you. That's it. And you just be out running around doing savage man shit. So
That's
fun,
crazy.
dude.
Hey, I'm gonna make a head call.
Right behind you.